This podcast is sponsored by Magic Rock Brewing. Currently, you can get free delivery on all orders over £40 and 10% of all online orders by using our code of TakesThatChance10.
Jepson's there, Billy in, a goal, Chris Billy, Huddersfield Town. The most famous goal of Chris Billy's life. Is this the moment for Lee Fowler? It is. Take your place in Division 2, Huddersfield Town. Ruby and Steve Simonson's boots now. He's missed. Steve Simonson clears the frame of the goal and collapses in a heap of tears. Huddersfield Town are promoted. Mustafa Schindler has a chance to write his name in Huddersfield Town legend. And he takes that chance.
Guys, good evening. Welcome to episode 99 of the Andy Takes That Chance podcast. We're one away from the magic 100. On the show tonight, and hopefully not going to storm off set and do a full programme unlike Piers Morgan. It's a bit of a weak one there, Si, but that's for you, mate. Simon Copland.
Also, I'll try my best not to, Kosi.
Also returning this week and sure to be part of the next three games, unlike Rotherham United, Pozza.
Good evening, gents.
Good evening. And our expert and special guest who will be returning to Hair Salon near you on April the 12th. And a cut above, do you get what I've done here? A cut above any other local radio pundit is our former number one, Matt Glennon. Good evening, Matt.
Good evening. I can tell you spend absolutely hours on these intros.
Matt's due back any minute, so I think definitely have a better opening salvo to that. So, yeah, and obviously we've got our comments page, and last week it was on fire because... the natives were restless, and we're on fire now. I know how it feels to be a Bayern Munich fan. 2 unbeaten, a clean sheet. It's just absolutely incredible as well. And even dreaming of a 3 points once we got a penalty with 17 minutes to go. But we'll come on to that later because it did turn out like we expected. So Matt, I'll come to you first because obviously you were in the stadium, but we were just kind of talking before we went live there. I don't know whether town fans were feeling a bit kind of going into it. It's because most people would have had Cardiff on their accumulator for the weekend. And I just wondered whether we might kind of get a Swansea-esque style performance from town. And we pretty much did, to be fair, didn't we? I thought we were really good.
I thought they were excellent. I thought the best thing about it was when the team was named, it was obviously we're going to go more of a 4-4-2. It was more like a 4-1-1, honestly, because Campbell just dropped a little bit behind Sanogo, and I thought it was excellent. Brave decision by Coach Cobran, because we know what he's like with this plan B rubbish that people talk about. We know what rigid way of playing. But you know what? He's took a step back and thought, you know what? We need something else. I've managed to get another player through the door who can do something different, as in bigger, hold it up, do what Sanogo did on Friday night. And he went for it. And as you say, penalty missed, chances missed. You know what I mean? Pipa had a chance as well. Campbell had a chance, a real chance on the edge of the 6-yard box. Schofield made a couple of good saves in the first half, but for the second half, Town should have won that game. And to feel disappointed that they didn't beat a team that are unbeaten in 11 shows what a great performance it was.
Pause. I'll be getting a bit of stick from Phil Senior already about your haircut, but I think obviously it'd be nice to have won the game, but I think we're just important to put out a bit of a message, really, that we're a bit more than just tippy-tappy football team, which I think we've been criticising Carlos for a bit. And I thought we stood up, mate.
Yeah, it were nice to see a sort of a different style. I know after Birmingham, a couple of people were sort of saying, it wasn't a great performance and stuff like that. But we've been crying out all season for him to implement a sort of a plan B. And it's nice to see that we can actually play in a different style. I think Sanogo offered us something a little bit different up front, push their defence back a little bit more than Campbell, obviously being a little bit more physical. And what you get with a Mick McCarthy side, that very similar to like a Neil Warnock type, that big, they're strong. They're on a great run. As Matt's just said, I think 11 games there. But, all good runs come to an end, and usually it's down, in it, when we're on a good run, someone gets in our way and stops us. So it's nice to be on the other end of that. And as you said, right, offset, and looking up to get all 3 points with penalty miss. I don't know, is it penalties at the moment? I think we've had 3 this season, not managed to hit target on any. So something to be working on in training there. But overall, you'd accept a point beforehand, and we got a point. And I think at the moment, any point on board is a point closer to survival. So you've got to take it as you can, when you can. And it's getting to the point now where performance is really, secondary to results for me.
Side 3-5-2, interesting formation. And I think there's one to me that we kind of hopefully going to see a bit more on that as well, because I think we kind of look good. Interesting, obviously, bringing Keogh back in for Stearman, who don't know if it was just because it was, quick, obviously being out for a bit, and, Tuesday, Friday, not much of a turnaround as well.
We nailed on Tuesday night as well, don't forget, because in the first few minutes, took a smash in the face, elbow. Then he took one in the head later on. It was like one of those people that just keep bouncing around from lamppost to lamppost after a few drinks everywhere. And I thought it was superb against Birmingham. Unlucky to be dropped, but I reckon he'd have suffered Wednesday, Thursday, definitely. And that, not just an age thing, the fact that he's been out for such a long time, and the fact the game was so physical against Birmingham as well on the Tuesday night, which I'll just, as to you boys on the show since then, was atrocious quality-wise, that game. But he put a real shift in. And I think in a World Cup next couple of days, he'd have been like the Tin Man.
I don't know if you saw it, but I really liked Stearman's interview after the game on I think it was Tuesday night against Birmingham with his bust lip and such. He spoke about kind of the change in style then and not being the prettiest. And I think the phrase they used was playing percentage football. And that kind of really stuck with me. It showed that there'd kind of been obviously some kind of conversations in-house around trying to figure out a way to get results. And it was a kind of useful addition. I was surprised to see him dropped, actually, but I think the points you make around kind of having not played for so long and kind of taking quite a few knocks, in that context, you can understand why he made the bench and no more, really.
Matt, what did you think Aaron Rhodes' performance on Friday? Because I was a bit surprised he was being left out, in 1 or 2 recent games. But again, mate, I love what he brings to the kind of the setup, the energy that he's got, and that as well. And again, I thought it was a real positive night for him again.
It was. I must admit, I wasn't a fan against Plymouth. I know he scored his worldie goal. Well, I thought the game passed. Beat 3-2 by a team in a lower division. But I think he's been superb in the little cameos he played. Then on Friday night, his defensive work as well as his attacking work, his determination to put a tackle in as well. You saw him chuck a couple of little shoulders in there as well, which was good. He gave a little bit back to their team, and I think to the referee at one point, nothing too serious, obviously, because you get booked for saying boo to a referee these days. So I just think he's developing. It's good because I have questioned how good some of these young lads are, because we're not seeing enough of them. And when they're coming on, they're not getting bit parts. Why at 21, 22, 20, they're not getting more game time. I think him and Phillips, obviously Scott High starting to get a few games. Schofield plays every week now. So we're just starting to see, I think, elements of this youth team that everyone's talked about, just getting better and better, more confident, and having a real impact on the game. I thought Rowe was excellent the other night.
Matt, what do you see his position be kind of going forward into next season? Because he's played a bit at right back, a bit on the right hand side of the field. He's played on the left hand side as well. Do you think he suits one position more than another? Do you think there's a spot that he could kind of call his own going into next season?
Yeah, I think more further forward. Wing back is the furthest back I'd want to see him, because I'm not sure about his one-on-one defending at this moment in time. Might get better as he gets older. But he works really hard to help out whoever is playing in that either left back or right back position when he's further on. And he also he gets forward really well. And as I say, he's getting a little bit more aggressive in his play as well. So I'd like to see him further over that side of the halfway line than this side of the halfway line as it stands at the minute.
Always helps to take yourself off mute, doesn't it? Pause. What do you make kind of style of play in Town and that as well? Are you just one? As long as we get results, I'm not kind of bothered how we're playing that as well, because it's really interesting for me, because I like it when we can kind of, have a mix and match, when we can do a little bit different. Why do you think Carlos is, and obviously he kind of not been working for a while, but it takes some bravery kind of to do something a little bit different than that. Well, I thought we were more direct on Tuesday against Birmingham, last Tuesday against Birmingham than maybe we were on Friday. But I just thought, it takes some balls to, because I thought he might go down on his sword, Carlos, but he has, changed it. And even though, probably worked better with Sanogo than it did, than it did on Tuesday night, kind of with Campbell. I thought he was really interesting, really. And then against the side where they're all about, set pieces and threats and stuff. He was really interesting how we, went toe to toe with him when I thought that might be a bit dangerous, kind of coming into the game.
I think for me, it's always, result. It's always nice if you can win playing nice football. But for me, football, it's about results, and it's results business. You look back in history, and some of the most successful teams, 1-0 to the Arsenal, 1-0 win, get a goal and sort of sum shop. And Chelsea under Mourinho, when they were successful, very similar, get a goal in front. You could argue Town under David Wagner, at the time, we went 1-0 up and did what we needed to do and sort of took the sting out of the game and kept possession. And at the time, I can't remember many fans really complaining about David Wagner's style of football. And then all of a sudden, after he's gone, we stopped getting the results. All of a sudden, it becomes a massive problem. So for me, as long as it's not horrendously bad, I know we've chatted because about Lou Macari's stint with Town when I think he got into the playoffs and they didn't renew his contract because it was that bad. There's playing bad and there's been horrendous to watch, and I think there's two different things. If you win and ultimately you're happy, I think fans not being in ground has a little bit of an effect on that because you sat in your house watching it on telly, so you wanting to be entertained. Whereas if you're at a match and you're winning 1-0, you're quite happy. Crowds behind the team are singing because you're winning. So it kind of takes. How much do you analyse a performance when you're in ground compared to when you're on TV? I know personally, when I'm watching it on telly, I'm probably more critical than I am when I'm in a stadium. So if we've won 1-0 and played poorly and I've watched it on telly, my opinion is, we've played poor. If I've gone to a match and we've won 1-0, it's sort of, we've won 1-0 and I've had a good day out because we've won. So I think circumstances sort of dictate whether or not you sort of enjoy the performance. But yeah, like I say, ultimately it's all about winning. I think you're right, Carlos. We're brave to change it, but pretty much everyone has been critical of his plan A not working. So if it hadn't, like you say, that had looked bad on him and potentially could have cost him his job and maybe even a career moving forward. So he had to be brave and he had to have those balls to do that. And the last couple of games we've picked up 2 points and. You could argue early on in season, when he was playing his nice football, I think we had a discussion on here, would you rather go play that football and, in 2 games and potentially lose and both, or would you watch a little bit more boring football and get 2 points? And the mood around the place now after picking up those 2 points is a hell of a lot better than what it was a couple of weeks ago. So for me, the points is the most important thing.
I think people have to remember as well, it's a very different time. When David Wagner came in, I think the club did a fantastic job on the other side of things. The clappers, David Wagner was everywhere. The feeling around the club was amazing. Dean was investing good money. The players were coming in. The wins were starting to come. And it was just, it was a fantastic time. I've never seen a squad of players be happy not to play. I've never seen a bench so happy in my life. And Wagner did that. I don't know how he did it because I was like a bear with a sore ass when I wasn't playing. But he did it, and everyone, the fans came with him for the ride. It was great. But then you've had the Premier League, the second year. Obviously, Seaver, then obviously what happened with the Cowleys, the new chairman comes in. So I think everyone gets ultra picky. The microscope is on, as you say, you're at home watching it on TV. You know what I mean? It's no Harry and Meghan at the minute, but we can all enjoy the games as much as we can. But it is, I think, a culmination of a lot of things means that Carlos's job's even harder because we're analysing everything because you can watch it and you can watch it again. You're not at the games watching in real time. You're watching replays or watching everything. You're assessing the games more. We're talking about it more. And the reason I said he was brave on the game on Friday as well, because a lot of coaches won't change the way they play. This is me. And if I'm going to have a coaching career in football, like Arsene Wenger wouldn't change. Bielsa doesn't change. But he had the playing staff to maybe do that. Carlos Corbrands thought, you know what, I haven't got the players at this moment in time who are wanting the door, who can do it. I've got too many injuries as well. And we can't forget the amount of people that lay on that physio's bed. They must get a season ticket for the physio bed shop, wherever you buy them from. But, you know what I mean, there's that many of them injured as well. So he's thought, you know what, this lad's on a free. He's got a bit of a pedigree. Yes, he's not played for a while, for whatever reasons, and we may find out one day why he didn't get a club. I'm going to go a bit more direct. I'm going to give my defenders a rest. I'm going to let Schofield go long, knowing the ball's not going to come straight back. And I thought it was a brave decision. And it takes someone who's not full of ego to do that, I think. Because if he was, and his staff was, and he's sticking rigid to it, no, this is how I play, you can all piss off. You know what I mean? This is how I'm going to do it. I'll get sacked if I have to, but I'm sticking to it. I think he'd be wrong to do that, because you have to change, you have to adapt. And especially when you've got your captain out, you've got your wing back who's been sensational. You know what I mean? You've got centre forwards out. You've got so many out. You've got to do it, and he did.
Interesting, Matt. So, Tom's just put Klopp's having the same problem at Liverpool. It's a good point, that, isn't it? I think at what point do you kind of change it, or just keep doing the same thing, getting the same results on that as well? It's interesting
because you lose everyone, and I think you lose respectability to a point as well. If you can't recognise that your depleted squad can't do what you need them to do, you've got to do something different. And all credit to him. I really enjoyed Friday night. I know it wasn't for the purists and all that crap, but for what he put on the pitch and what they did, I thought it was good display. And I thought Keogh did really well coming in as well. Naby Sarr was just everywhere, headers.
Yeah, we're just going to chat about him, Matt. Naby Sarr. Obviously he's got some pelters, certainly on this pod last few games, but he was outstanding on Friday.
He deserves it because he makes mistakes. But you know what? Every time a ball comes in the box, whose head's on the end of it? You know what I mean? He makes challenge, does everything. But he's got that Rick. And I've talked about on you fellas' podcast before. If he didn't have that Rick, no disrespect, he wouldn't be playing for Town, because he's got everything in the locker, but he's got that mistake in him. And it stopped him, I think, going a lot higher with his ability that he's got.
He was really, really good. I want to just discuss a few players as well. So obviously we mentioned Sarr there. I want to talk about Pipa. It's a really interesting one, obviously, in playing the kind of left side. And I saw an interview with him after the game on Friday, and he said he really liked it. And one of the reasons he did was because he got a bit more license as well. And he kind of, can go inside and he can go outside. And he prefers that, where I think I was kind of thinking, okay, I know what you're saying, but you have to bring everything, you have to take an extra touch to bring everything on your normal foot. So I suppose what I want to ask, Paz, I'll come to you, but are you a fan of playing players in a kind of opposite left foot to the right hand side and vice versa and stuff? Because I think the one thing that's become pretty clear to me is Jaden Brown. I'm not sure he's got a future. Huddersfield Town, but it's a bit harsh to say that. But if you can't get a game now and you're playing his right back on the left side, it doesn't look very good for him, does it? But it's Carlos has kind of nailed his colours to the mast, and I don't think we'll say Jaden Brown for this season, to be honest, mate.
No, it's an interesting one, playing a wrong, right footer on left and a right footer on left. It gives you a little bit something to think about as a defender, doesn't it? Because when you know what foot you are, you angle your defender which way your attacker, which way you want them to go. But I think we chatted earlier. I think Matt, you might have been on the podcast where we chatted about when we first started, and we had Koroma on left and Benza on right, and it were basically they sort of looked to cut in, and it allowed you. We had Toffolo and Pipa there, actually doing the overlaps. It's interesting to try it on a 3-5-2 rather than like the 4-2-3-1 like we used to play. I don't mind it. I think watching Pipa play early parts of the season, he loves a shot as well, doesn't he? So if he's on left hand side, his first thought is can I cut inside and smash one? And to be honest, for Town, it's something that I think we lack, and I think by playing him there, it gives you that option. Aaron Rhodes did it as well. At Middlesbrough, he sort of likes to cut inside and
nearly scored.
He did. It gives you that other option rather than just sort of going down line and crossing it in. Historically, we've not played with a big man, so whipping balls in at head height, getting to the byline and crossing it in, Goody and Jepson days, you can't really do anyway. So that little cut inside. Look at Karlan Grant. He scored 19 goals playing in that position, cutting inside onto right foot. So I don't see a problem in it, me, at all.
It's using your squad as well. And was it the Derby game where he played on the left for the first half, and he was excellent, and then he changed him onto the right for the second half, and it all went wrong. And I think he does all right on the left. And coming in and shooting on his right, I'm more confident than I am seeing him shoot with his left.
Gives opposition.
I quite like him in that position.
Yeah.
Sorry, I quite like him in that position, but for me, as soon as Toffolo's fit, he comes back in. He's a natural player in that role, and he's been one of the standout players of the squad this season. So I think when Toffolo is available, Pipa probably revert to the right hand side, but it's definitely a good option to have up our sleeves. I think just on your Jaden Brown question, Kosi, I think he's been a bit lucky in truth. I think obviously when Toffolo first got suspended, he probably would have come in had he not had that concussion injury that kept him out. And since then, obviously, Pipa's done well in that spot, as has Aaron Rowe. It is difficult, I think, to see kind of what role he has going forward. We obviously need some squad players, but whether or not he'll be content to play that role for kind of the next 2-3 seasons.
His big injury, because he was excellent before he got his big injury, and he's not come back the same player. I thought he was, when he first went to the club and he got playing, I thought he was fantastic. He was up and down, he was quick, he was your modern day wing back. You thought, wow, where's this fella come from? You know what I mean? He was quick, he was fast, he's aggressive, everything. Got injured, come back. You know what I mean? I'm taking fingerprints. You know what I mean? I'm not. He's just not been the same player. You can see he wants to be. He's trying, but for some reason, he just can't get his game back together again, which is a real shame. Might have to go out on loan somewhere or whatever. Go and play some games, get some confidence, get some minutes in again, because there's a player inside there, and he's just gone missing for a little while.
I think what hasn't helped is that Toffolo has been so consistent, and I guess kind of barring the current situation side, is normally regular 90 minutes week in, week out, kind of a staple of the team. It's been hard for him to get any game time, is what you're saying.
Yeah, he could have been they wouldn't have had to bring Toffolo in. If he'd have come back as strong as he was before he got injured, I don't think you see Toffolo at the club, because he was working really well, and he's quick, he's strong, he does everything Toffolo does, but it's just not happened for him. It's just not happened. So Toffolo comes in, and to be fair, it's what happens. You don't perform, someone comes in.
Another guy who I just hope he's turned the corner. I think he has, to be honest. Two out of the last 3 games have been really good. Lewis O'Brien, I think you could have made a discussion for him being probably one of our better players on Friday night and that as well. And I just think, especially in the run with kind of Danny Cowley, last season when we went on that decent run at times, he was the heartbeat of anything that we did and that as well. And I thought he relished the battle on Friday night and that as well. And I'm just hoping that this is we can have the Lewis O'Brien back that we, that romped the Player of the Year award last night and that as well. But Pause, I don't know what you felt, but I just feel, I don't know, sometimes, I don't know, as a captaincy, probably a bit of a meek excuse, and it maybe the weighing expectations, what have you, but that would have watched the Lewis O'Brien I want to see on Friday, mate. He was good.
Yeah, I like O'Brien. He's one of my favourite sort of players. He's busy. He's not afraid to put a tackle in, but then he likes to carry the ball forward. I think he's something that we need. And a lot of people sort of see Lewis O'Brien as a bit of a utility player, and I think he has been used a little bit like a utility player whilst he's been at club. But for me, he needs to get the best out of O'Brien. You need to play him in his strongest position. And we chatted, I think, last week about moving a player out of the strongest position to somewhere else, and basically you're weakening up 2 positions there. Whereas if you can get O'Brien playing in that midfield role, as he was last season, week in, week out, you've got, a really good player there. And there were talk about him moving to Premier League, last year. So, it's not just us that think that, but continually moving him around, you think back, like your Tom Clark's as a utility player, and we're, a 6 out of 10 basically wherever he played. I don't see that with O'Brien. I think if you play him where he wants to play, he's an 8 out of 10. And then if you move him away from there, he suddenly drops right down to, down to 5 and stuff like that. So just because we've had injuries and stuff like that, I think O'Brien still needs to be, you need to play the player in his best position to get the best out of him, obviously. And I think that's what's happened over the last couple of games. And, like you say, giving him captaincy gives you a little bit of a boost. And all right, he's not one of those to scream and shout like your Johnny Oggs and stuff like that, but he's a good example. He's hard working in ways on the pitch. And as a player, you look to your captain and think, if he's doing that, I better be doing that. And you don't always need someone to shout and ball at you. It's just basically setting the example. And I think as a captain, it's a good shout moving forward.
And obviously he's a strawberry blonde as well, like yourself.
Of course, yeah. Gingers are always best. Thing is, though, when you got ginger hair, you can't play Paul because everybody notices you. So, you stand out.
Schindler's the same. Schindler's not a shouter and a screamer. Lead by example. And I think you're right. I didn't like him at left back, O'Brien. I think it takes so much away from the team. Pipa at left back doesn't take away as much as O'Brien at left back from that midfield area. And when he's driving forward in full flow, that low centre of gravity, the little drop of the shoulder, you can't stop him. He can hold off 2 or 3 players at a time when he's at full flow, and he's great with his little 1-2s as well. But as you say, I think Kosi, we've talked about it before, once that boy gets consistency into his game, he's going to be unstoppable, and I'm going to have a real problem keeping hold of him because he has got so much to his game.
Like the ginger Messi, we'll christen him then.
Exactly, the ginger.
Do you think he'd want to leave right now, Matt? Do you think if a club comes in for him in the summer, do you think he'd want to go, or do you think he'd want to have another season at town?
Depends who it is. If some massive Premier League club comes in for him, then there's nothing he can, or the club or anything can do. You have to take that chance because you never know. Someone comes through, snaps you in 2, and a manager comes in, doesn't fancy you. Your career can go from there to there very quickly. You've got to take your opportunities. You know, I'd like to think that the club are going to build in the summer. They're going to bring players in, hopefully keep hold of him for a little while and see if he can develop there. But if someone comes in with silly money and he's going to be playing in the Premier League, he can't turn that down. No one's going to turn that down. You know what I mean? You'd be silly too. As I say, because your career can change very, very quickly and not always for the good.
25 minutes, we haven't mentioned it yet, but we're going to now. Penalties, Yaya Sanogo. Let's talk about his performance first, because it was really, really good. I had low expectations coming in, really. I was very surprised he started with him because we were getting that message fed out, especially on press conferences, that, we might get 20 minutes out of him and stuff. He wasn't fit. And, I was really surprised to see his kind of name, especially with Campbell as well. So, again, that's something to discuss whether we, 2 up front or is kind of maybe the way. But I really like what he brought. I thought his energy. I thought he's someone. If you were marking him on Friday, I thought you're gonna have to keep an eye on this guy because he's like, he's got a bit of pace, a bit of threat, a bit of strength. You know what? And he proper worked hard. He was sweating like.
Yeah.
God, I was really.
He worries you when you see him as a keeper, as a centre half. Even Morrison. The big lumpy is confident lad. I think he's a superb centre half. He worries you because if he gets a jump on you, you're not beating him. Like I said, he could change a floodlight without a ladder. You know what I mean? He's a big unit. You saw him go on the pitch, you're thinking, I don't want to mark him. When Campbell comes on the pitch, no disrespect, but when you're talking about high balls into the box, I'll take Campbell. I'll take him first off because I'm a foot taller than him and I fancy myself. You see this lad coming on the pitch, you think, oh, Gaffer, don't put my number up to mark him. Because if he gets a run on me, I'm done. And also the fact of he was bringing people into play. He was holding it up. Yeah, there was a couple of loose passes, but who didn't? Who didn't have a couple of loose passes? And I just thought, for someone who hasn't played competitive football as long as he has, to come in and chuck that out, what can we look forward to the end of this season, apart from him not taking penalties? Let's just hope it can stay fit. Sai were refreshing, weren't they? I thought, wow, this is the training ground. Keep him away from the training ground, he'll stay fit. He'll be all right. This is what we've been crying out for some time. It's a bit of a shambles, really. It's took till, kind of after the window shut to get someone in of this kind of ilk. But I'm sure Fraser Campbell will be delighted as well, maybe taking a bit of pressure off him. But yeah, that on what we saw on Friday night, he's going to be an asset for us, isn't he? Well, hopefully, don't get injured, please.
No, I agree. I agree with yourself and Matt have said there. I think it's quite clear that he wasn't plan A, B, or C, even D or F in the transfer window. We're obviously linked to lots of strikers, and kind of he has been, dare I say, the last resort. Like you, I was quite low expectations, but I was pleasantly surprised. He was a handful. He put himself about. It looked like he wanted to be there. It looked like he wanted to play. It looked like he hadn't just turned up for a kind of a paycheck till the summer. Don't know what the deal is around next year or anything like that, but it looked like he wanted to put himself in the shop window, and good on him for that. I know he wants to go on to discuss the penalty, but I was quite pleased to see him put his hand up and want to take it. I think you want your striker to kind of have the balls to kind of step up there and back themselves from 12 yards out. Obviously, it didn't go according to plan. But when you look on the pitch, there wasn't any obvious kind of contenders. And
I'd give it Campbell. I'd give it Campbell. I know he missed one.
Even he missed last one.
Yeah, it don't matter. Footballers miss penalties. He's a confident lad, Campbell. You know what I mean? Shouldn't
Campbell have gone and got the ball? Shouldn't Campbell have gone and got the ball and said, right, I'm having it?
No, I think it had been decided before.
He couldn't reach it. He put the ball up like that and he couldn't reach it. He's like
an Ireland Globetrotter.
From what Carlos had said, that had been decided before the game. He were always going to get it. And I was surprised some of the stuff on the Twitter it shouldn't be on Twitter, should you? But it's like, it should be nowhere near the penalty. I'm thinking, hang on a minute, mate. He's our centre forward. Huddersfield's our centre forward. If you can't be confident in taking a penalty, okay, look what happened. But it's
because in hindsight, it's a great thing. If you're confident he wants to take it, let him take it. I personally would have wanted Campbell to take it just because more gameplay, scored some goals, great. But no, if he wants to take it, let him take it. I don't want him to take the next one, but yeah, I'm quite happy that he did because he looked a decent footballer. That
was the same end where your 2 penalties, wasn't it? You saved it at that end, weren't you?
Yeah. So yeah.
It's haunted, mate. It's haunted.
That's what it is. Jinx that goal, and one in the other end in the same game.
But there we go. Yeah, mate.
We're not talking about that tonight, what?
Yeah.
No, it's not.
He's gone. He appears.
There it is.
Pods, though, just what penalties is. It's really weird, isn't it? We've had our best times of our lives in major penalty shootouts, playoffs, finals, semi-final. Yeah. But when it comes, I know Carl and Grant kind of bagged a few, but I don't know. In my lifetime, is just your bread and butter games. You always think we're going to miss, don't we? And Friday, I thought I just want confidence that we're going to score, and must have been that town fans' hands face space ban that put him off. But it's sunk for him, and I felt for the lad as well because it's like live on Sky. It's his first game, and it's I think if you couldn't be sympathetic for him, I know there'd be people sweating in many living rooms, but my heart went out to him because I thought you didn't deserve that, mate, because you worked your ass off tonight.
Yeah, I think like Matt says, to step up and take a penalty in a game or in a shootout, sometimes you take the penalty taking ability away from it. You can be the best penalty taker in the world, but if you're not confident in stepping up and taking it, there's no point. Put someone less on it. I mean, I used to play centre half, so I was the last person that looked to take a penalty. And I always remember we got to a cup final that went to penalties, and it went to sudden death. And I remember bloke before me, I think I was number 7, and he went to number 6. And I remember as he's walking forward on my team, I thought, you better score this, mate, because I'm up next, and I don't want that pressure. So, like Mike says, if he's grabbing ball and wants to take it, let him take it. There's no other way. You can't blame anyone else if you miss. Look at Lionel Messi misses penalties. Didn't Ronaldo miss a penalty in Champions League? It happens. Although everyone thinks it's so much easier, if you look back, recent history, goalkeepers are saving so many more penalties than I ever remember as a kid when I used to watch footy. Basically, if you got a penalty, you scored, didn't you? But there's so much more research goes into it now and all that. All right, probably not on him because it's his first game for so many years. But psychologically, it's a big thing, and keepers, they fill the net and they can move around a little bit now. So, fair play for him to take it. His debut, his full debut or whatever, and he'd had a good game and. To be fair, he did look good when he missed it, didn't he?
It was an awful moment, wasn't it? But lads, I think what were good, the lads were like straight on him. Come on, get your head up on that as well. Matt, come on, give us some insight into. I watched in Spanish game the other day. You'll be shocked to know, and there was the goalkeeper had actually been put on penalties and he scored, but he missed his last one, so he's been moved off. But what was interesting, there was a lot of the other keeper came up and he was messing about with the penalty spot, and you could tell he was shouting stuff, and then. I don't know if it happens like here, but God, in Spain, the referee goes straight. The keeper saying, "Don't move on your line," because they're really fussy on that now. If one foot's not on it, then they'll take it again. But what did you used to do? Did you used to kind of have verbals and get in heads and stuff out? No.
Well, one thing we'll say now as well, that strikers actually study goalkeepers on penalties now as well to see which side they prefer to go to, and that's a different subject. But for me, I didn't say anything. I didn't argue the referee because he's give it. Like I said before. I'm not going to have a go at the referee. He's going to go, I'll tell you what, Matt, you were right. Have a goal kick. All right.
Matt, did you used to, coming into the game, mate, before the game, say we were playing adult, did you used to know about the player, where he'd put his last 4 penalties? What did you do on that?
Last 2 penalties, someone will mention it, penalties here, we'll go into a little tiny bit, but I didn't listen to that really anyway. What I usually do is, because I'm retired, so I can say, because I had a good few, saved a good few penalties in my time. I used to when everyone's arguing, the person who's about to take the penalty will go and pick up the ball. I'm looking at him before anyone. And depending on the taker, obviously, the higher up you go, it's a little bit harder. But they'll always have a little look. Then they put the ball down. Then they're not looking then because they know you're looking at them. But I've already just caught a little eye of him to see where he fancies it on the pitch. And as I say, it worked a lot. It was great because they don't know that you're looking because everyone's arguing. But I'm not. I'm looking at the man who's picking up the ball, seeing what he's looking at.
Matt, while you're at it, I want your opinion as well. I noticed there were one the other week in our game, and Oggy mentioned it, but you see it, especially in Spain. Some guy just lied prostrate on the ground behind the wall. It's one of the most weirdest things ever.
You didn't used to be able to do that, did you? That used to be, it used to stop them doing. I think it looks pretty stupid when that happens. I suppose it's so they go under the wall, don't they? But
I saw someone get stood on. It was so funny.
Ridiculous.
The game.
Deserve to be stood on. I text Roberts after the game, Matt Roberts, who obviously plays for Birmingham. I said, what is he doing behind there? I don't know. He wasn't supposed to be there. We're not watching. So he just gone and gone there. It's like to try and put off and think he's going to go under the wall. They had the biggest wall in the world, Birmingham. There's no need to put someone there. But I think someone pointed out that somebody last season or in the Premier League season, I can't remember. But I don't know if it's a psychological thing or it's just I don't know, but it just looked ridiculous because he won't even lay down. Yeah. He was sort of half down, half up, and I just thought, what are you doing, you clown?
It were mad. I mean, one thing to point out, Matt's put there on the feed, but Sanogo took penalties for Toulouse, I think, where he was before, and he had 100% record with them. It's not as if it's a guy that's a chance that
How many did he take, Kosi?
You what, mate?
I've only took one. How many did he take?
Yeah, wow.
Sam Allardyce has got 100% record for England. You know what I mean? You've got to dig a bit deeper.
But it sounded like after the game, Mick McCarthy were quite happy with the point. I suppose when you're on the run, they were just winning game after game. You know, I'd like to have won it, but they had one or two moments. But I mean, Campbell, to be fair, had a good chance, didn't he? After the
should have scored that, to be fair.
So frustrating. I know I'm not his biggest fan, but and it does work out. But it's like, God, you know, he had the time as well, didn't he? But it's easy, I suppose, on the sofa, isn't it, watching it? But that would have bad miss, that, wasn't it?
I think he was trying to be too clever. Scissor kick instead of just
maybe
putting it back in, or just a nice crisp volley.
Yeah, no, there was kind of big chance really in the game, wasn't it? And I think Pipa's as well was kind of one that you kind of thought could he have done better with that. He just tries to take it on his right foot, maybe a touch too much, and Toffolo in that position, does he put his kind of left foot through it and find the bottom corner? We definitely had the better of the chances. And in that way, kind of coming away from the game with only a point was disappointing, but at the same time, you kind of said at the top, if we'd have kind of said before the game, you'll get a point today, I think we'd have probably taken that in the run that Cardiff were on, the run that we had been on. Just a shame we didn't convert those chances, like you say.
3 from 3, Sanogo's penalty, Matt. So
nice.
Yeah. Well, 3 from 4 now. But so I suppose that's kind of dissecting the game and relegation battle. God, here we go. This is going to play back to me, but feels like to me there's one spot available now, and we'll come on to Rotherham's kind of woes in a minute. But Sheffield Wednesday, they're absolutely battered at Saturday against Reading. They feel like a club that I don't know. The Morn appointment to me felt we're kind of planning for next season. Well, maybe you never know. We might get a miraculous go, but I don't know what you guys think. I don't feel we'll go down. I think we're better than that. I think we'll win a few more games, but I just think, you know,
too close. It's too close.
It is really, and it shouldn't be, should it, Matt? We're better than what we are, aren't we? Sure.
Yeah, and they've shown it in massive chunks this season. Again, I'm not making excuses, but when you've got that many key players with that many injuries, your goal scorers, your defenders, your midfielders, your captains, you know what I mean, 2 captains, it happens. And we've talked about where we are in the world, coronavirus, financials. I don't want to get into the chairman again because we've done that to death. You can't just keep bringing player after player in to replace injury after injury. So it's been tough for Carlos Cobran and the squad. It really has. But we've seen so many games. Bristol City, when they got beat, 60 minutes, that game was exceptional. The Derby game, the first half, Derby scored that, but they were still the better team until he tinkered a little bit. You know, in Cardiff there, other games, Millwall, there's been loads of games where they've been absolutely superb. They've just, as I say, they've just got to get that ball in the back of the net and cut them tiny mistakes out. Well, how many teams can say that? Because, though, to be fair, a lot of teams can say that. But I do think Town, I'm not going to say too good to go down because it's a horrendous saying, but I do think they're a good side, and they should be further away from that relegation.
I've just had a look at league because it just as we're thinking, we're 10 in front of Sheffield Wednesday and only 6 in front of Rotherham, but they've got 3 games in hand. It'll be now, and people always look at games in hand and say, oh, well, if they win all 3. You were the third bottom, so why would they suddenly? I think they've only won 5 all season. Why would they suddenly win 3? And they're going to have to play a lot of games in quick succession as well. So that's not going to help. And don't forget, there's Birmingham, Coventry, and Derby below Town who have got to pick up less points. And I can see Town. Odd result like Friday, a point here and a point there. We're going to win. I'd say probably a couple before end of the season. So although it's not cut and dry, that we'll definitely stay up. We're sort of moving up now, aren't we? We've had a slump, so we're probably going to be the one that moves up.
QPR and Sheffield Wednesday, 2 massive games, 4 points from that. And yeah, I think it's happy days. Just make sure Sheffield Wednesday don't get anything. You beat Sheffield Wednesday, that's them gone for Town. Maybe not relegation. Yeah, that's Town seeing them off. QPR are a decent result of the weekend.
They're winning tonight, Matt. I've got it on in background against Wickham, but Wickham not other. But yeah, I think we can get close.
Wickham. But
I just thought we got Hillsborough, and I think we only won one way, although we were a bit more kind of direct the other day. But I think I want to go Hillsborough and give them a good pasting and that as well. I don't think they were. I watched that game against Rotherham last week, and he was an incredible winner, to be fair. Brilliant goal from that Ladapo. Quality smash and grab from them, obviously with a kind of red card. But if Wednesday really got any ambitions of staying up, they've got to beat us, aren't they, next week? But I don't know, I just get the feeling on Saturday that it's crushed them. I mean, that Rotherham defeat would have crushed you on it. And then Saturday, come on, we can get 4 points next 2, I think.
Oh, definitely. And don't you remember the Wednesday game at John Smith's as well? They battered Sheffield Wednesday. They outplayed, and that's when they were playing the real top football. It was...
And we missed the penalty.
Yeah. It was the Wednesday game, and I think it was QPR at home, those 2 games, and they out-footballed both of them teams and made them look very, very average. And yeah, hopefully they'll do it again.
What do you make to Darren Moore's appointment, Matt?
Again, I thought it was a little left field, but apparently he's been doing a good job at Doncaster. And yeah, you know what I mean? They've tried so many different ways and managers. He's not surprised. He's been around now, paid his dues. Yeah, it's a good job for him, big job. But he's working for crazy people. So it's going to be hard for him.
Let's come on to Rotherham again, because again, they were incredible. The game on Wednesday, and then the next thing, the day after, backroom staff, players, COVID again, and they had COVID at Christmas time. And Karanka he said, I think, what a lot of people have been thinking, to be honest with you, and kind of calling it out and saying, well, hang on a minute, once okay, twice, it's all a bit of a strange one. All of a sudden, I think it'd be really difficult for Football League to dock points, but it don't feel right to me, Pos. It's like they're going to know what they need to do, and yeah, okay, it's exceptional circumstances, but how can... I'm no medical expert, but it just
seems... It's a tough one, isn't it? I suppose they'd have to investigate how they're following procedures, and if they're following everything that they need to follow, and it's just, these infections are being picked up outside of the football club in players' homes, all that sort of stuff, then what more can they do without hauling the players up in an hotel room? And it's probably 6 to half a dozen the other, in it. You look, and on one hand you think, well, they're going to know what they're going to need to do, but then on the other end they're going to have to play all these games in quick succession, and if they're playing 2-3 times a week, it's not going to do them any good, is it? But then on the flip side of that comment, if they get on a roll and they win a couple of them, you know what football's like with momentum and stuff like that. So I think it's a difficult one. I know I mentioned on our chat, should there be deducted points for all these postponements? But
it's where you draw the line for
any exact reason.
It's where you draw the line, because right now you can probably squeeze those games in. But what happens if it's another 2 games that need to be postponed, or another 3 games, or another 4 games? There comes a moment in time when it's too much, and it becomes a moment in time where actually there is then too big a fixture pile up. And I'm not sure if we're at that point yet, but that.
I think we had this discussion, when COVID first came. I think we discussed Aston Villa, because Aston Villa had called a couple of games off because they had so many people with COVID. And I think I made the point that, do you class COVID as something different to a normal injury? So if you've got 8 players out, from your first 11 with COVID, you can call it off. because you've not got enough players. But if you've got 8 players out, I mean, look at Town. We've had 8 players out with various different injuries, and we had to play. So is it the fact that they're risking infecting others, or have the people that have? To me, if they've got 11, 12, 13 players in that first team squad who are negative and can play, they should be playing. Why are they allowed to call off? Just because they've not got the preferred squad available? I think that's not right.
I think the thing is, Pos, it just seems to be, it's not even debated. I thought if that had been in Premier League, would have been, God, there'd have been documentaries on this, that and the other, but it's not even mentioned. And I think Karanka's right to call it out. He obviously is looking after his own club, but it just doesn't, I don't know, it just feels wrong.
No, exactly. Yeah, if you're doing all the processes, then there shouldn't be a problem. You know what I mean? It's not rocket science now. We've been living this for a year. You know what to do, not to do, sorry. The testing's constant. You keep your social interactions down. You keep away from people who shouldn't be there. You don't go to people's houses. You don't catch it. And it's not rocket science. If you do things properly and you do your social distance and you wear your masks, very, very slim chance of catching it. Those people aren't doing what they should be doing, and you're right, because maybe there should be an internal investigation to find out who's been doing it, and they've got to present it to the FA. Because 1, you're unlucky. 2's a little bit silly when you've got that many. So maybe they do that, and then they see where they take it, because it's not just Rotherham. It's not great for Rotherham because they've got to play the games, as you say. They know what they've got to do. The players are also having a bit of a rest mid-season. Let's be honest, they're recuperating because they're not playing games. But suddenly, let's say they've still got to play Sheffield Wednesday, or they've got to play Wickham, or a team down there, Birmingham, on a Thursday night, and then Birmingham have got to play on the Saturday because Rotherham have not kept everything in check. Then suddenly you've got to play that game because you've got to fit it in. It's got to be played. So they've got to play a team. So that other team is now against the wall as well.
What's going to be interesting, Matt, is obviously international weekend's coming up the weekend after next, and if they squeeze a game, because there's nothing to say, there's going to be all element that if Rotherham play one of them games on that, I don't know they'll be playing, but obviously if they've not got any call-ups, and then there's a lot being said at the moment about these countries, obviously, that you're going to have to quarantine, so whether half of these games are even going to happen, but there's going to be uproar. I think the main thing for us is forget about the other teams. It's, get our own house in order and get the points in the bag.
As long as we get enough, we shouldn't be worried about it.
You think we'll need 50 points? I don't think you'll need 50 this time. Do you, Matt?
Now, the Chicken said that the other day, to be fair. He was saying, he reckons 45, 46 is enough. I'm not sure that low. I think 48, 47, 48. I think, in three more wins and a little bit extra, I think up there still. I'd like, it might not be 50, but I'd like to get there very, very quickly.
Matt, I've got a question for you from Pete Swallow. I don't think we would be in this position if the fans were in the ground, even if we had all these injuries. What do you think?
It can be said the same then for other teams, but it is peculiar in the ground. I've said it before to you fellas every time I'm in there, and when the John Smith's bouncing and you need that little bit of support, it does help. I can't say it doesn't, because it does. It gives you that little bit of percentage, and Town have been very good at home, even without the fans earlier on, but they've just needed that push after Christmas in the home games. And I think if, there was 20,000 in there just pushing over the line, I think it will be different. And I think some of the performances of the players would be better as well, because the pressure's on all the time. When you've got a full John Smith Stadium, then the pressure's on even more then, and you really have got to step up.
Pozza, I went for a walk with someone today. My mate, he's not even a Town, he's a Man U, says, what's going on with this? It was just like last season. There you go again, scrapping to stay up. And I was thinking about it, I thought, from the outside looking in, that people must feel that, but I don't know.
It's because they're second in the league now. Just beat Man City. He wouldn't have been saying that earlier on this season, last season, would he? Wouldn't be chirping up.
No, fair point. What's that? It's been such a weird time and season, obviously, with the COVID and stuff, but do you feel, you could argue under Carly's we were same position again. Maybe the squad, obviously, we talked about before, has been stronger than... Where do you feel kind of we are as a club? Do you feel we're in a better shape? Or are you kind of hoping, like obviously Pritchard and, the others that are going at the end of the season, is that a chance to regroup? Do you think we're any better off 12 months on, mate?
Well, how long have we got? I thought we had. About 10 minutes left. It's one of them, innit? I think, I don't know, you could have a full bloody day's discussion on where we are and how we've got to this point, and and everything like that. And we went up probably too early. We came down. We were on a massive downer. I think we've said on here, this is now 4th season where we've sort of been in a relegation.
Do you feel better or worse than last year, Pods? As a fan?
As a club, or do I think last season's team would beat this season's team? Yeah.
Are you more optimistic about the future 12 months on, mate?
I don't know, because if you asked me two games ago, then it's a different answer.
Yeah, it's like being on Boris.
Honestly, I think we've chatted about it before, and I've mentioned on here that this season we're one to get through. I would have hoped we'd have got through it with a little bit more quality and a little bit more safety. And I thought by this time we would have not been too worried about relegation and used the last few months to look at some of these youngsters and see how good they are. That would have been my hope. Obviously, we're not quite at that stage, and we've not seen these younger players coming through. You hear a lot of noise coming from club about us young players and how good they are. I don't always think it means the immediate set that are coming through now. So your Matty Daly's, your Phillips, your Aaron Rose. I think it's the ones after that the club are sort of really excited about more than the next sort of crop coming through. Do I think we've got the right people behind the scenes to do what we need to do in summer? Jury's out on that one. No, I would go with at the moment. I think they would need to learn a lot of lessons from what's gone on this season. Look at January for an example. We know with shambles that went on with a striker. We've been hamstrung by money. When we get another couple of players off at books, such as your Pritchards, your high earners, does that make that job a little bit easier? It probably does. So it gives them a little bit more to work with. I wouldn't say that I'm going into the summer positive, that I think we'll come out of it other side and be a totally rejuvenated side and have a go next season. I think it'll take longer than that because I think we need so much in so many areas. But Huddersfield Town go, the powers that be there, go prove me wrong. Would be my message.
I'm gonna put that down as a no then.
Yeah, I know. Bloody hell, Matt. You were a Si. What about you?
Oh, bloody hell. I'll try and answer a bit more succinctly than
you've got a minute, mate, to tell me.
Am I looking forward to next season more than this one? Yes, but that's because I'll be back in the ground. Whereas this season, that was never on the cards, probably. I'm looking forward to kind of getting behind the boys and supporting the team. Do I think work needs to be done on the pitch and off the pitch? Definitely. But probably more reason for optimism this summer than last because some of those high earners will be gone.
I'm more positive for next season. Definitely, because I think he'll get his players in. Your Pritchards will be gone. They're on decent money still. Ben Hamer's on decent money. I mean, there's contracts to be renegotiated. Carlos will bring some players in. I mean, the few that he's brought in already, I mean, they're doing well. They're doing well. I mean, Vallejo, Pipa, this lad Sanogo now is coming in. It looks like they've got an eye for a player. So get rid of some of the deadwood in the summer. Big earners, bring the new ones in. And you know what? Let's see where they go.
We just need to do it early, Matt. I know I probably sound like a broken record here, but some of the success we've had was getting the boys in early, getting them to know one another, and getting the training. And what happened in January was the opposite of that, with people coming in last minute, etc. So as long as they can do the business at the start, I've got every reason to be confident.
Matt,
I think the club will. Sorry, just to finish off there, I think the club will have learned a lot from this season, and by not having fans there, they've probably sort of ignited a lot of passion within the fan base to want us to be better. And I've had conversations with people in private at the club, and my message to them is just give us something to get behind. Stop waffling, start delivering, because it seems a lot of waffle over the last 24 months, and there's not been that much to back it up. There's been little green shoots here and there, but nothing major. And I think this summer now is almost last chance saloon. So shut your mouth and get on with what you said you're going to do. And I agree with Matt. Next season, I do think we will be better than this season. But they've got to deliver. They can't just keep saying we're going to do this, we're going to do that. They've got to actually get on with it now and bring what they say to the table. And everybody wants Huddersfield Town to do well who supports Huddersfield Town. You get people who I don't like chairman, I don't like manager, I don't like where they cut grass, I don't like that they put white seats instead of red. People don't like that, but if Huddersfield Town are winning, everybody's happy. So, or not even winning, just having a go,
Hoss, will you be singing, he gets the ball, he scores a goal, Jordan Rhodes, because I think it's coming, mate. There seems to be too much. When Stephen Chicken go big on a story, I think it's on. And I put a poll out today to see what people think. And I'm not surprised, really, because I'm feeling a bit like this as well. 68% says they're not too fussed about having him back. And he's been 5 years in the wilderness, if we're being honest. 5 years getting older, 5 years slower, 5 years done. I don't know.
He didn't rely on, let's not forget, Jordan didn't really rely on pace massively. Yeah. He was a finisher. He could finish. And when I was at town with him, he was great. His finishing was superb. Side, bang, bang, all the time. And then he got better and better. And as you say, he's made, not wrong moves, because I don't know he cracks, but financially he's made some very, very big moves. But it's just not seemed to work. He's not found the club that'll bring him back to where he was with town. I don't want to be...
Would it excite you, Matt, the signing? Would you be thumbs up for it, or?
I'd be in the middle. I'd be in the middle, because I'd be scared that his legacy would be slightly tainted if he come back and he couldn't hit the back of a leading barn door. But I'd like to see if town, because people have clubs that suit them. Just for some reason, you have a club where you do really well and he loves it and he comes back and it ignites his career again. And you know what? He goes on a goal scoring spree, because around that box, he's a dangerous lad. He's just had a succession of managers haven't fancied him. His form's not been there, injuries, and because he's the nicest lad in the world, Jordan. There's no way he's falling out with people. So it is just, you know what I mean? It's just not gone for him.
Positive can
the
get
funny one with I was going to say, with former players, you've got Rhodes tinted, and you look at Rhodes, he scored all them goals. You just automatically think Rhodes, get him back, he'll score. You've got to try to think, if I supported somebody else and we were signing Rhodes, what would you look at? You'd say, oh yeah, did really well at Huddersfield, but what's he done since then? So with that hat on, you've got to say, don't really excite me, but because you know what he could potentially do. I mean, God, the man were unbelievable, wasn't he, when he played for town? And
Also, if Rhodes has that chance Campbell has on Friday night, we get 3 points.
Yeah, it's a fair comment. Yeah, it sort of reminds me of Gareth Lineker. Never does out spectacular, but scores. And that's what wins you football games. So I'd be happy to see him back, to be fair. I wouldn't want him as a marquee signing, and be the signing of the summer.
It wouldn't be
put the right players around him, and put this way,
a couple of things to me. I think we've got Danny Ward on a 3-year contract. Kind of obviously that's. Let's not make the same mistake again. 1 or 2 years at tops for me. I think he's got a bit of a point to prove, actually. I think he's probably had 4 years at Sheffield Wednesday now. He hasn't really lived up to expectations. I think he's got a bit of a point to prove to himself, probably more than anything. And be interested to see what his attitude is. But I wouldn't be adverse to it if he kind of gets in the door.
It's interesting. There's someone on our feed said that when they say signing very soon. So, I mean, that won't go away, that one. But all of a sudden, Phil said we have 5 strikers and we're going to have about 55 now. And there's a guy on my TV, I think it's called Haaland. He won't be a bad signing, I think, for next season. But
we'll sure getting the new wage structure. Yeah.
So he's kind of just want to talk about, it's a year ago since football shut down, just pretty much, and that as well. We'd kind of beat Ellen Road, and obviously the least said about that, the better. But I've missed it so much, and it's not been the same. And my mum and dad, every time I go up to see him, it's not the same. We can't get into it as much. And I'm glad it carried on out, obviously after it stopped. But it's been a huge miss for everyone, hasn't it? It kind of was mentally as well, I think, just getting people back in.
A lot of people are saying though, but I'm the same. Like watching, I enjoy watching Match of the Day. Saturday night, you know what I mean? Usually everyone falls asleep, or Match of the Day, I watch it Sunday morning. Not overly bothered about watching that. Usually a bit of cooking on a Sunday, I'll have the TV on in the kitchen, chuck a game on. Can I be arsed now? I'll put Peaky Blinders back on again for the 9th time. You know what I mean? I understand where you come from, and I'm in the grounds, but it's not the same. When someone gets wiped out in the early ball, where's the cheers? Where's the screams? Where's the people having a go at you? I mean, the referees are getting too easy a job as well. They're not getting hammered enough for my liking.
No.
You know what I mean?
I'd say they did a good job of that.
Man
City v Man United on Sunday, a perfect example. Usually, I'd be straight, I'd be all over that. Yeah. And not so much for football, but for atmosphere, like you said, crunching tackle. A crunching tackle is not the same without 10,000 people getting up and going, you know, like you do, and you know, you watch football because of that as well, don't you? And especially on telly, I mean, you watch Town because it's Town, but even that's not the same. You know, you find yourself, you know, having a look on Twitter or, you know, popping off to do something else, whereas you wouldn't dream of doing that.
That's good.
You know.
Matt, what was it like? Oh no, you weren't there, were you, at Preston when they had fake crowd noise? But obviously you were in the studio, weren't you? But
was it Sheffield Wednesday with fake crowd noise when it first really kicked off? It was horrendous. I had my earphones on, which, well, the ones before they got stolen were quite noise cancelling. I thought, what the hell's that? But they're doing Sheffield Wednesday songs. It's not crowd noise, it's reading songs on. I was like, what the hell is that? Oh, it was embarrassing. It was embarrassing. Yeah, not right, not the same.
I can't believe that it's been a year though. I mean, Si, he just is incredible. I thought Neil obviously back on next week for his 100th, but it's like, he said it, didn't he, that we won't get back in. And I'm like, I'm sure we'll get back in at some point, and it's never happened. And God, it's just going to be crazy. Isn't it? I don't care who. I mean, I think it's August the 6th they announced, didn't it? So it's an early start for next season. But it doesn't matter who we get. It's going to be, you know, there's obviously discussion about people get a season cap, but whoever's going to be there it's going to be crazy, and it's going to be great.
I think it'll be quite a surreal environment, actually, kind of being back in a stadium. I think it'll need to pinch yourself. If I remember back to this time last year, 3 games were postponed. I remember 3 games of the Easter period. And very naively, obviously, hindsight, wonderful thing. I thought that'd be it. 3 games, we'd all be back to normal. Kind of that'll be it, blink and you'll miss it. And look at us now, kind of laughing at myself, thinking that. I mean, kind of, I'm looking forward to it. My only hope is that when we can go back into stadiums, everyone can be there. You can kind of sing, you can chant, you can do everything we did before, beer beforehand, etc., etc. I think if it's a case where you can go back, but there's only so many people and it's all quite spaced out, etc. That for me, I think that'll leave me feeling quite disappointed and resentful, and I'd almost rather wait until it's kind of back to normal than I would any kind of middle of the road kind of job.
It's a big ask.
Some people have a different opinion.
The seats for you, so you're all right.
It's a big ask to get everyone back in August, isn't it? But obviously, there's no one can really answer it. But it feels like to be standing there with 13,000 at home to QPR, I don't know, on August. It feels a big ask that at this moment. But I suppose the vaccines and everything, and the thing is, at any time, if you look when the country kind of got back to some normality, when in the summer months, people just reverted to type. So they can say, don't chant or don't jump on this. That's just not going to happen. It's going to be, people going to want that full-on experience. So it's either all or nothing, really. And I don't see it going any other way. It's, I don't know, it just feels, like you say, if we can only have 4,000 in and no away fans, that's going to be big. We need them back as well, don't we? But
on the 21st of June, all restrictions end. So it's just, they can't say all restrictions end in June and then tell football fans not to travel to an away game or not jump on each other. You can't have it both ways. I suppose they'll look at the science, as they keep saying, and see what's happening around about that time. But you'd hope to God that because don't forget, we've got, after June, we've got a couple of months, haven't we, till August. There's another couple of months there for it to, die out and whatever, and hopefully summer rates will follow what happened last time and almost be eradicated. So it will be.
With the age groups, it's only going to be Kosi that's had his vaccine still. Well, going to be struggling anyway to get in there. Well, he'll be in Spain, he'll be on his 2nd dose.
Honestly, that is... We can't end the podcast like that. We're just getting abused. It's disgusting. God, I thought Megan had some bad stick this morning, but this is peeved, isn't it? But yeah, I think that's it, guys, to be honest. Obviously, we've got 2 games next week. We've got 100th pod next Thursday, which is going to be exciting. And let's just hope we've got some positive news. But it must be weird for you, Matt, not being going to away games, though. How is it still on?
Yeah, it's rubbish. It's hard work because obviously the TVs aren't freezing like they used to. I know that, but we're sat in that studio and they don't show the subs coming on. Like Scott, I told you the other day, Scott hired a shot. I didn't even know he was on the bleeding pitch. You know what I mean? Because they've not shown it. So it's getting towards the games and we can have a chat still, but it's not the same.
Just before we go, good mention from Si there, but there's the big virtual sleep out happening again on Friday at the John Smith Stadium and that as well. So that's going to donate to charities of the Huddersfield Town Foundation, and I've written the other one down that I can't Reed and that as well. It is the homeless
research this
homeless charities as well. Matt, just before we go, tell us a little bit about. We never mentioned it when you were on last time, but you and Boothie sitting on all them seats. What the hell were going on there, man?
Well, obviously it's for the foundation and for the local charities and everything. And I saw Boothie was doing it, and I was speaking to him anyway. I said, "So I'll do it, yeah. You know, I mean, I'm doing nothing else. You know what I mean? Raise a bit more money." And yeah, the first 1,000 seats was atrocious. We're trying to get our technique. We noticed Alan Shearer did this slide when they did Wembley. Him and Robbie. So we tried to do that.
Matt, be honest. Did any snap?
It was horrendous, mate. Honestly, I nearly smashed a few of the chairs. But just the fact I'm an hairdresser, you know, my hands aren't the toughest things in the world. I had blisters for about a month. Oh, it was good fun because we were left on our own for about 4 hours with no cameras, no nothing. So me and Boothie just had a good laugh, a good chat, old times. And so, yeah, we got well over 10,000 or something seats it was. But that of bird shit and fox shit. I hope they didn't sleep over. They're going to get some sweeper brushes out because it was minging.
I think it's a virtual one. I think people do obviously doing their own.
Are they?
Yeah.
All right. I've not seen it yet. Yeah. Well,
no, wish everyone well for that. Wish the team well for the next 2 games. And thanks to everyone for joining us tonight. And all the best.
There's a team that is dear to its followers. The colours are bright blue and white. They're a team of renown, they're the pride of the town, and the game of football is their delight. And all the while upon the field of play, thousands loudly cheer them on the way. Often you can hear them say, who can beat the town today? And then the bells will ring so merrily, and every goal shall be a memory. So town, play up and bring that cup back to Huddersfield. So town, play up and bring the cup back to Huddersfield.